Back to Sports Center, David Lloyd, Jay Harris, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Bucks hosting the Wizards. Flashback to 1 year ago, Wednesday. Bucks taking on the Knicks. Giannis all over Tim Hardaway Jr. Oh my goodness, like literally jumped over him. Yesterday, Malcolm Brogdon drives, misses. Giannis there for the rebound and the dunk, and we getting started early. In transition, that was a bunch of steps. The Bucks shot lights out in the first quarter. They dropped 50, 10 of 27 from the field, 7 of 9 from three. Tied the most points in the first quarter in team history. Second quarter, mama, there's that man again. Giannis, screen from Brook Lopez, hits Brogdon on the wing. No look pass. Malcolm does the rest. 85 points from Milwaukee in the first half. Most points the Bucks have scored in the first half in franchise history, making history all around. Meanwhile, at halftime, Bucks fan trying for the half-court shot, $5,000. Yes! Yes! Everything is going in for Milwaukee. Midway through the fourth, 139-118's the lead. Giannis with the steal, going Sports Center coast to coast, finishes the night off with some power, 43 points, one shy of tying a career high. He also had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. 148-129. Your final score. For the third time in franchise history, the Bucks are the first team in the NBA to win 40 games. The previous 2 times Milwaukee was first to reach the mark, they made it to the NBA Finals, winning the title in 1971. They also had a young fellow named Kareem on their team. Another guy we don't talk enough about.
Lloyd and Jay Harris and the Hornets and the Mavericks. This was a strange game. First to the basketball, Luka Doncic, good player, rookie, teenager, gonna get the ball, and he's deft with the passing. Just leave it for Tim Hardaway Jr. up there on the trapeze. Mavs take the lead. And then Doncic getting into some paint. That'll work. Mavs up 6 at the half. And then the strangeness happens. Harrison Barnes driving, making his last bucket as a Maverick because he would get traded in the middle of the game. Rick Carlisle knows how nuts this whole thing is.
Look, this is madness. You know, right now, this week, you know, it's just, it's a zoo, but that's part of the real compelling aspect of our league. I mean, the trade deadline goes through tomorrow afternoon, so, you know, hang on to your you-know-what. I mean, it's gonna, you know, there's probably going to be more madness going on around the league.
I think it's hang on to your hat. I think that's the phrase there.
Yeah.
Barnes had an inkling something was going on. Nothing was finalized until in the middle of the game. So he sat in the fourth and watched Luka do his thing, finding Dwight Powell. Mavs by 6. Luka's third triple-double of the season, most since Jason Kidd a lifetime ago. And then Doncic driving. The creation. And one. Doncic, triple-double. Mavs win by 6.
LeBron James at the Lakers shoot-around this morning. They're in Boston to play the Lakers tonight. LA had been hoping to welcome Anthony Davis to the fold, but the trade deadline approaching this afternoon has not happened yet. Dave McMenamin joining us live from Boston, again with the Celtics host the Lakers tonight. Lakers, Dave, in the thick of trade deadline rumors. What did the team have to say about all that this morning?
Well, Jay, yeah, it's almost like there's been a ticking clock above all of their heads in the last week and a half ever since Anthony Davis's trade request became public. And one of the guys attached to those rumors is LeBron James, not in terms of him being traded, but his association having the same agent as Anthony Davis. And LeBron spoke today about how his teammates are handling all the speculation.
I think it's always, you know, the suspense and the excitement around it. The trade deadline is always, you know, it's always kind of pretty crazy. And I think at the end of the day, it's a business, and you know, there's going to be speculations, there's going to be names thrown around. I know it has to be tough on guys that, for the first time in their career, even when, especially if you're a young guy, to be able to hear your name in trade rumors when you've been somewhere, you know, for a few years.
So beyond that, though, LeBron also went to Instagram last night to offer his thoughts on Harrison Barnes being traded seemingly in the middle of a game from the Dallas Mavericks to the Sacramento Kings, and pointing out the hypocrisy of how fans react to teams trying to make their squads better versus players trying to make their lives better by requesting trades. And LeBron elaborated on that stance also today.
Teams have to do what's best for their franchise to set them up for the near future or for the present. But at the same time, players have that ability to do as well. And if a player asks to be traded because he feel like it's for the better of his career, that should be the same conversation. That should be the same narrative. And I see it from both sides. I see it from both angles, both franchise and players. But it's just a narrative that we would like to be able to be changed. But I think it was unfortunate, the Harrison Barnes piece, though.
And so now we'll find out in the coming hours whether there will be a trade or not. Obviously the Lakers already made a trade this week. They traded for Reggie Bullock of the Detroit Pistons, sending away rookie Svi Mykhailiuk. They expect Bullock to be in uniform Sunday in Philadelphia with them. But will there be another trade? Will it be a major trade, a minor trade? We'll have to see. And this Lakers squad could look different from this shoot-around to tonight at tip-off against their vaunted rival, the Boston Celtics.
Dave McMenamin in Boston. Thank you, Dave.
We're ticking down. We're whittling away at this deadline clock here. It's now 2:16 and counting. Thus far today, it's been quiet. Almost too quiet. But we had some action last night. The Rockets, trying to make a run at this thing, picked up the defensive specialist, the former NBA champ, Iman Shumpert, from Sacramento. 3-team deal. Houston sends a protected first-rounder to Cleveland in the trade.
Another former NBA champ on the move. The Mavericks shipping Harrison Barnes to the Kings for Zach Randolph and fellow Tar Heel Justin Jackson. Dallas shedding some salary after taking on a few big contracts in that Kristaps Porzingis deal.
It's looking increasingly likely that Anthony Davis will stay in New Orleans, but the Pelicans bringing in reinforcements anyway. They get Markieff Morris. The Wizards getting in return Wesley Johnson and a future second-round pick in the deal.
Speaking of the Wizards, David, the John Wall injury news has Washington making moves. The Wizards clearing some money off the books, sending Otto Porter Jr. to Chicago in exchange for Bobby Portis and former second overall pick Jabari Parker.
Of course, Tobias Harris was traded to the Sixers in the wee hours yesterday morning, set to make his debut with the team tomorrow night at home against the Nuggets. Philly making a big move, hoping for big results. The Sixers currently in 5th in the East, 6.5 back of the Bucks. Our front office insider Bobby Marks joining us now. So the Sixers mentality seems to be, let's win and let's win now. What else can they do in their situation as we run up to the deadline here, Bobby?
Well, you're right, and the Tobias Harris trade was costly. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and now you're locked in with this roster. But it's a good roster. Now you still have, remember, Markelle Fultz, still there, former #1 pick. If he is going to be on the market, probably a first-round pick back. He would be the guy as far as your lone asset. These 3 players here, TJ McConnell is a backup. They're all staying. You cannot trade a first-round pick until 2022. This team's going to get expensive down the road. Where I think you're going to see some reinforcements coming, the buyout market. These are 4 names to keep an eye on. Wesley Matthews of the Knicks, Garrett Temple of the Grizzlies, Justin Holiday of the Grizzlies, and Wayne Ellington, who was just traded to Phoenix. So if you put Matthews in, and we'll take JJ out for right now, that's kind of where you're going to see some depth. But this is kind of who your team is, and it's a good team. I mean, this is one of the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. But going forward, $600 million for the next 4 years to keep this group together. So you're really going to have to hit on some of your minimum guys down the road. But for right now, right this moment, this is a top 3 team in the East.
Okay, they're casting their cap with these guys. We'll see if they can add a piece or 2 to make a title run. We'll see if it happens in Philadelphia. Bobby Marks, our NBA front office insider, as we move towards the NBA trade deadline. Coming up tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern, the Nuggets and those Sixers getting together. We'll get a chance to see Tobias Harris in that game on ESPN. Looking forward to that. And then afterwards, at 9:30 Eastern, the back half of the doubleheader, the Timberwolves and the Pelicans. Will Anthony Davis still be on the roster, and will he be on the floor? All sorts of questions about what New Orleans is going to do moving forward if they can't deal AD at the deadline.
All right, new on SportsCenter, we have a trade. A person familiar with the negotiations says the Philadelphia 76ers are adding James Ennis from the Houston Rockets in exchange for draft considerations. The person speaking on condition of anonymity pending the NBA trade call to complete the deal. Now, Philly will become the 6th club for the well-traveled Ennis, who averaged just over 7 points for the Rockets this season. Ennis has also played for Miami, Memphis, Houston, and New Orleans.
We dropped this news at 8 a.m. on a Monday on purpose.
It gives Magic basically the floor for the next 10 days with limited competition.
If you guys really want me, y'all got between now and the trade deadline to make it happen.
Well, really, Rich Paul and Anthony Davis now have all the leverage in the world to pick where they want to go.
I mean, this could be the most consequential NBA trade since Kareem to the Lakers.
And for more, we welcome in our NBA insider, Brian Windhorst. Brian, just a little over 2 hours away from the trade deadline. Anthony Davis is still a Pelican. If he's not dealt, what are you hearing about the plan for AD with the Pelicans for the rest of this season?
Yeah, 3:01, Jay, we could potentially see a bit of a standoff between the Pelicans and Anthony Davis. He wants to start playing again. He's been cleared to return from the finger injury, and he doesn't want to sit for the next 2 months. But the Pelicans are very likely to shut him down the rest of the season, protect him from injury, and also potentially create an awfully awkward situation next week at the All-Star game, which might be the last time he plays this season.
Wow, that will be awkward. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. Who else are you keeping an eye on that could be traded before the deadline, 3 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah, I think we'll still see some minor moves like you just mentioned with James Ennis, but the big names that are left out there, the all-star type names, are Mike Conley and Marc Gasol with the Memphis Grizzlies. Those are talks that have gone on for the last month, and the Grizzlies are really motivated to get something done with Gasol today. He can opt out and become a free agent at the end of the season, which I'd expect him to do if he is not traded. Gasol has been linked to Charlotte, but they've not been able to get that deal done, and from what I am told, they are not really making that much progress on it. Conley has several different suitors, including Detroit, Toronto, and Utah, but it's been difficult to put a deal together because Memphis's asks are very high. And it's important to realize that they can hold on to him. He's got 2 years left on his contract and look to trade him in the summer. Also keep an eye on Niko Mirotic. He is very available from the Pelicans. You've got several teams, including the Raptors, Jazz, and maybe even the Rockets, interested in his services.
Okay, Brian Windhorst, thank you much. You can see much more of Brian on the Jump Trade Deadline Special, top of the hour here on ESPN. He's going to join host Rachel Nichols with Paul Pierce, Tracy McGrady, Scottie Pippen, and more. They're going to have you covered with all the latest news and information as we move toward the NBA trade